Section 1. When Arthur recovered from his illness, it was almost time for the Easter vacation. Mary had been complaining about the dirty walls and paintwork, especially in the kitchen. So Arthur, in a rash moment, volunteered to do out the kitchen and the living room, which was almost as bad as the kitchen. On the Saturday before the Easter weekend, Arthur and Mary went to the local do-it-yourself shop. First, Mary spent ages thumbing through the wallpaper catalogues in the shop, while Arthur wandered around looking at all the power tools and other gadgets he wished he could afford. Eventually, Mary told Arthur she hadn't seen anything she liked. Arthur was quite pleased about this, as he didn't really want to do any papering. He told Mary that he thought it was too difficult for him to do, and that he would much rather paint the walls. He explained to her that the patterns on most wallpapers are a hard job to match. Mary was sensible enough to realize that painting is not so difficult as papering, and that Arthur would be less likely to make a mess of it. That evening, while Mary was preparing the evening meal, Arthur decided to pop across the road to the Ship and Shovel, where he had a quiet drink, and talked to some people he knew about his plans for decorating his flat. One of his friends, a man with an Irish accent called Paddy, knew of a shop in Ealing, a suburb in West London, that was going out of business and selling paint at bargain prices. Paddy offered to collect the paint in his van, since Arthur didn't have a car, and deliver it as soon as he could. He said he would also bring his overalls, in case Arthur needed any help. In the meantime, Arthur started working on the kitchen. The walls and ceiling were rather dirty, so first they had to be washed down thoroughly with a strong detergent. This, together with the job of filling the holes and cracks in the wall surface, took up the time until Paddy was due to deliver the paint. Section 2. 30 years ago, not many people would have dreamed of doing the repairs and decorations in their own homes. In those days, labor was fairly cheap, and most people would have thought it worthwhile to employ a professional painter and decorator, unless, of course, they were either very hard up or were in the trade themselves. Today, however, it's quite a different story. Men and women in all walks of life turn their hands to all sorts of jobs round the house, including painting, papering, putting up shelves and wall units, and tiling walls and floors. Some people with no professional training of any kind have even successfully built their own houses. These jobs have been made easier today by the introduction of prepared materials, which require the minimum amount of skill to use. In every high street throughout Britain nowadays, there is at least one do-it-yourself shop, containing a vast range of timber, tiles, paints, wallpapers, and floor coverings, besides tools of every description, including power drills and many accessories. Do-it-yourself is a booming business. All these shops do a roaring trade, and look like continuing to do so. Probably the main reason for the do-it-yourself craze is the high cost of present-day labor and the shortage of building firms willing to do small jobs. Section 3.
New Dulux carpet squares give you wall-to-wall carpets that need never wear out. New Dulux carpet squares bring lasting beauty to your home, to any room in your home. They come in handy 30 by 30 centimeter squares. That's about 1 foot by 1 foot. And they're so easy to lay and to move around to suit your fancy. So easy to lay. You need no professional help or advice, no underfelt, gluing, nailing or stitching. Only a sharp knife and a straight edge for cutting squares to fit. And most floors need no special preparation. Every pack has clear, simple, step-by-step instructions. Just follow them, butt the squares closely together, and you've got a professional carpet laid in no time. Decorating and home maintenance. When decorating, making underfloor repairs, rewiring, etc., all you have to do is move the Dulux carpet squares in the area where you want to work. Nothing could be easier. You also have the flexibility to change the design or move them to another room or from house to house when you move. There's nothing else quite like new Dulux carpet squares. Even wear. Because you can easily move Dulux carpet squares around the room, you just rotate them now and then to even out wear. Remember, when you replace a conventional fitted carpet, over half of it has been virtually unused. That's a lot of money to throw away. But with Dulux carpet squares, no problem. No waste. When you want wall-to-wall carpets that need never wear out, wall-to-wall carpets you design, here's the answer.
Dialogue.
That's the doorbell, Arthur. I expect it's your friend with the paint.
Can you let him in, please, Mary? I'm in the middle of filling these cracks in the wall here, and the wretched stuff keeps falling out. And what's more, my hands are covered in the stuff.
So is the floor. All right, then. I'll go.
Good morning. Is Arthur in?
It's Paddy, is it?
Yes, that's me.
Well, do come in. Arthur's been expecting you. He's in the kitchen. Can I give you a hand with those cans of paint?
No, no, that's all right. I can manage.
Oh, hello, Paddy. You've brought the paint, I see.
Yes, they had what you asked for. Hey, what are you doing with that filler? You've got as much of it on the floor as you have on the wall.
Well, as fast as I put it in, it falls out again. I must be doing something wrong, I suppose.
Well, you've got it too wet, haven't you? You can't use it as wet as that.
All right. I'll make it thicker and start again. But I'd better go and wash my hands first. Shan't be a minute.
What sort of paint have you brought, Paddy?
Well, there are 4 cans here. These 2 small ones are the gloss and the undercoat for your woodwork. That should be enough, unless you decide to give it 2 coats. And these 2 big ones are the emulsion for your walls and ceiling. I hope the colour's okay.
Oh, yes. That's the colour, all right.
Right, let's try again.
Arthur, you've trodden that stuff all over the sitting room carpet. It'll take me absolutely ages to get it all off.
Well, I think it's time I was off.
I've managed to get the carpet clean at last. I'm just going to put some newspaper down in case you make any more mess.
Sorry again, but could you just give me a hand first? I'm ready to start painting. If you could just hand me up the paint tray and the roller when I get to the top of the steps.
All right, but be careful.
Of course I'll be careful. Now, can I have the roller first? Thanks. And now the tray.
Isn't there rather a lot of paint in it?
No, I don't think so.
That roller, it looks a bit too wet to me.
No, it's all right. I've watched my father do this a few times, you know, and he never spills a drop. There. That looks quite good.
But you splashed paint all over my dress and on the floor. I'll have to go and take it off and soak it before it dries. Oh, dear.
Mary, the sitting room carpet. There's paint on your shoes. Oh, no.
Oral Practice 1. Listen and repeat. A. Mary? Please, Mary? Let him in, please, Mary? Can you let him in, please, Mary? B.
I suppose. Wrong, I suppose. Something wrong, I suppose. I must be doing something wrong, I suppose.
C. 2 coats. To give it 2 coats. Unless you decide to give it 2 coats. There should be enough unless you decide to give it 2 coats. D.
Any more mess? You make any more mess? In case you make any more mess. Put some newspaper down in case you make any more mess. I'm just going to put some newspaper down in case you make any more mess.
E. In it. Paint in it. A lot of paint in it. Rather a lot of paint in it. Isn't there rather a lot of paint in it? That's the end of Oral Practice 1. Oral Practice 2. You'll now hear a dialogue in which you are going to take part. Listen, please.
This kitchen's getting very dirty. Can we afford to have it painted? Well, I don't think we can afford to pay for somebody to do it, but we could do it ourselves. Well, I'm sure I couldn't do it. Could you do it by yourself? I'll have a try. It might not look as good as if we had a proper decorator in, but it would certainly be cheaper. Shall we go and get all the stuff then? Shall we have paper or paint on the walls? Well, we'll have paint. I don't think I'm clever enough to put paper up. Oh dear. I rather like paper for a kitchen. Well, if you want paper, someone else will have to do it. Paint it'll have to be then. What colour do you fancy? I'm not bothered myself. Tell you what, let's go down to the shop and see what colours they've got. Then we can choose something we like.
Now you will hear the dialogue again. This time you must talk to your flatmate and speak at the same time as the speaker on the tape.
This kitchen's getting very dirty. Can we afford to have it painted? Well, I don't think we can afford to pay for somebody to do it, but we could do it ourselves. Well, I'm sure I couldn't do it. Could you do it by yourself? I'll have a try. It might not look as good as if we had a proper decorator in, but it would certainly be cheaper. Shall we go and get all the stuff then? Shall we have paper or paint on the walls? Well, we'll have paint. I don't think I'm clever enough to put paper up. Oh dear, I rather like paper for a kitchen. Well, if you want paper, someone else will have to do it. Paint it'll have to be then. What colour do you fancy? I'm not bothered myself. Tell you what, let's go down to the shop and see what colours they've got. Then we can choose something we like.
Good. Now, this time you must talk to your flatmate on your own.
This kitchen's getting very dirty. Can we afford to have it painted? Well, I'm sure I couldn't do it. Could you do it by yourself? Shall we go and get all the stuff then? Shall we have paper or paint on the walls? Oh dear, I rather like paper for a kitchen. Paint it'll have to be then. What colour do you fancy?
That's the end of Oral Practice 2. Oral Practice 3. Listen carefully to the passage. When you've heard it once or twice, try to answer these questions in your book.
If George hadn't tried to paint the ceiling above the stairs, he would probably still have been a single man. One afternoon he was in his parents' house, with one foot on the landing window ledge and the other on the banister rail, a pot of paint in his left hand and a large paintbrush in his right. It was hardly surprising that he fell downstairs and broke an arm and a leg. He was rushed to hospital immediately and had to lie in bed for several weeks with his arm and his leg in plaster. It so happened that in George's ward there was a nurse called Jenny, as young as she was pretty, and she was responsible for looking after George. On warm days, Jenny would push George around the hospital grounds in a wheelchair, and they talked to each other quite a lot. Before he left hospital, George asked Jenny to marry him. In their new house, however, George never paints the ceiling. Jenny makes sure of that.
That's the end of Oral Practice 3. Oral Practice 4. Listen, please.
I haven't paid my bill. Do you think they'll cut off my gas?
They will unless you pay it.
They will unless you pay it.
I don't know whether I've passed my examination or not. Do you think I'll get the job?
You won't unless you pass.
You won't unless you pass.
Now you go on in the same way.
I haven't paid my bill. Do you think they'll cut off my gas?
They will unless you pay it.
I don't know whether I've passed my examination or not. Do you think I'll get the job?
You won't unless you pass.
I can't pay you today. Can you let me have a packet of cigarettes?
I won't unless you pay me.
Should we finish our party early? Do you think the neighbours will complain?
They will unless you finish it early.
Do you think it will rain? I don't know whether to take my umbrella or not.
It will unless you take it.
I don't like my medicine. It's horrible. Do you think I'll get better?
You won't unless you take it.
I'm too lazy to have a shave. Will the boss be angry?
He will unless you have one.
I don't want to give up smoking. Do you think I'll get lung cancer?
You will unless you give it up.
Oral practice 5. Listen, please.
I may possibly go out tonight. Shall I give you a key?
Yes, give me a key in case you do go out.
Yes, give me a key in case you do go out.
It looks as if it's going to rain. Shall I take my umbrella?
Yes, take your umbrella in case it does rain.
Yes, take your umbrella in case it does rain. Now you go on in the same way.
I may possibly go out tonight. Shall I give you a key?
Yes, give me a key in case you do go out.
It looks as if it's going to rain. Shall I take my umbrella?
Yes, take your umbrella in case it does rain.
Shall I buy some aspirins? I might have a headache during the weekend.
Yes, buy some aspirins in case you do have a headache.
Shall I leave the door open? The cat might want to come in.
Yes, leave the door open in case the cat does want to come in.
I wonder if I should take my sunglasses. It's just possible that the sun might shine.
Yes, take your sunglasses in case the sun does shine.
Shall I phone her? I might not see her tomorrow.
Yes, phone her in case you don't see her.
Shall I take some sandwiches? There might not be a dining car on the train.
Yes, take some sandwiches in case there isn't a dining car.
Shall I put my car in the garage? It may freeze tonight.
Yes, put your car in the garage in case it does freeze. Oral practice 6. Refusing offers of help. I can manage by myself. Listen, please.
Shall I help you to push your car?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to push it by myself.
No, thanks. I think I can manage to push it by myself.
Would you like me to walk home with you?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to walk home by myself.
No, thanks. I think I can manage to walk home by myself.
Now you go on in the same way.
Shall I help you to push your car?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to push it by myself.
Would you like me to walk home with you?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to walk home by myself.
Can I hold your umbrella for you?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to hold it by myself.
Do you need any help mending the radio?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to mend it by myself.
Are you sure you wouldn't like me to pay for your ticket?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to pay for it by myself.
May I carry your suitcase for you?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to carry it by myself.
How about my digging the garden for you?
No, thanks. I think I can manage to dig it by myself.
You're a very independent girl. You seem to manage to do most things by yourself.
Yes, I think I can manage to do most things by myself.
Oral Practice 7. Listen, please. John's intelligent, and so is Barbara.
Perhaps, but I don't think Barbara's as intelligent as John.
Perhaps, but I don't think Barbara's as intelligent as John.
Birmingham's ugly, and so is Liverpool.
Perhaps, but I don't think Liverpool's as ugly as Birmingham.
Perhaps, but I don't think Liverpool's as ugly as Birmingham.
Now you go on in the same way. John's intelligent, and so is Barbara.
Perhaps, but I don't think Barbara's as intelligent as John.
Birmingham's ugly, and so is Liverpool.
Perhaps, but I don't think Liverpool's as ugly as Birmingham.
Raquel Welch is beautiful, and so's your sister.
Perhaps, but I don't think my sister's as beautiful as Raquel Welch.
Roses are nice, and so are daffodils.
Perhaps, but I don't think daffodils are as nice as roses.
Arthur's lazy, and so is Jennifer.
Perhaps, but I don't think Jennifer's as lazy as Arthur.
American beer's weak, and so is English beer.
Perhaps, but I don't think English beer's as weak as American beer.
Chinese is difficult, and so is English.
Perhaps, but I don't think English is as difficult as Chinese.
Fred's stupid, and so is Bert.
Perhaps, but I don't think Bert's as stupid as Fred.
Oral Practice 8. Dictation. Cover up the passage and listen, please. The worst room to decorate is always, for me at least, the kitchen. And the reason is that it is difficult enough to have someone trying to cook while you are painting, even in a fairly large kitchen. But in one like ours, where you can hardly swing a cat, it is almost impossible. There are really only two things you can do. One of them is to go without food until the decorating is finished, and the other is to go out to a restaurant for all your meals. The first is impossible, and the second is expensive. So perhaps the best thing of all is not to decorate your kitchen. Now you'll hear the passage again, and this time you must write down what you hear. Stop the machine at the pauses. The worst room to decorate is always, for me at least, the kitchen. And the reason is that it is difficult enough to have someone trying to cook while you are painting, even in a fairly large kitchen. But in one like ours, where you can hardly swing a cat, it is almost impossible. There are really only two things you can do. One of them is to go without food until the decorating is finished, and the other is to go out to a restaurant for all your meals. The first is impossible and the second is expensive. So perhaps the best thing of all is not to decorate your kitchen. Now here's the passage again. The worst room to decorate is always, for me at least, the kitchen. And the reason is that it is difficult enough to have someone trying to cook while you are painting, even in a fairly large kitchen. But in one like ours, where you can hardly swing a cat, it is almost impossible. There are really only two things you can do. One of them is to go without food until the decorating is finished, and the other is to go out to a restaurant for all your meals. The first is impossible, and the second is expensive. So perhaps the best thing of all is not to decorate your kitchen. Now, check the dictation in your book. That's the end of chapter 7.